Hello, everybody. I hope you enjoyed JPEG's Rhinestone crafting showcase. I know I'm excited for our next one. Up next, we have Aalizah. So yeah, whenever you're away, Aalizah, go ahead, or whenever you're ready, Aalizah, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thanks y'all for having me. So today I'm going to be doing this Faithomus cross stitch, and I've got Scala Kitty and Trainer Anade with me to just kind of talk and hang out. So this is the full pattern that I'm going to be working on, the picture of it, and then I can just move that without moving everything else. This is what I've done so far. I like to use a highlighter to kind of mark off where I've done so I don't forget where I'm at. So right now I've just got kind of a giant blob of yellow everywhere. And I think I was in the middle of a line, actually. Yep, cool. So let me just figure out where I am. If Scala and Trainer, y'all want to introduce yourselves while I figure out where I left off?
Sure thing. Hi, I'm Scala Kitty. I am the original designer of this sprite. To kind of give you a little bit of background, I am the sort of art dev for Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise, which is a Final Fantasy IV open world ROM hack. That sort of takes your original Final Fantasy IV, this beautiful story of like redemption and making things right and, saving the world. And we just chucked that story just straight out the window and instead turn it into a giant scavenger hunt. One of the sort of highlights of the randomizer is that we randomize a lot of like where like the bosses are and what their stats are, but we do not randomize the final boss, Zeromus, just because Zeromus is a very particular boss, has very particular scripts and requirements, so we don't move Zeromus out of their special boss arena. But what we do instead is we change out the sprite for Zeromus. Right now we are at nearly 600 different options that exist. The vast majority of which I have done over the past 5 years. And we sort of do everything from, there's like all sorts of classics, like you can fight like Robotnik and Bowser, of course. Sometimes it will be like different, we have lots of shouts to like different like indie games, like The Queen from Off, or Squick Squawk from Squidlet. So it's a lot of fun to kind of bring in a lot of different sprites into the game. But this one, Faithomus, was done as a special request from the Frame Fatales leadership. They wanted to see if I could do something special for the wonderful mascot Faith. So this was entirely my own design, from sketch to pixel art. And it's really, really touching that Aalizah wanted to recreate it in cross-stitch. I've also been a long-time crafter, and I have done cross-stitch in the past. I know that it's definitely a craft that requires a lot of time and dedication, so it's very cool to sort of see the evolution of this process.
Yeah, and I'm Trainer Anade. I like crafting, and I have done cross-stitch in the far distant past. And I'm here just to kind of, have an extra voice, because I know Scala Kitty wasn't necessarily feeling the best, so I'm here to help give another person to talk.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, I had some wisdom teeth out a few days ago, so, but I'm doing all right, all things considered.
Yes, and we're here to watch some amazing crafting, and I mean, this is an amazing design, Scala. Like,
Oh,
I love,
Yeah.
I love the whole design about Faithomus. Because, like, you're very true to Faith, which, if people don't know, Faith is the mascot for Frame Fatales. But also, like, I saw the picture of, like, Faithomus in-game, and, like, it fits so perfectly in the game, but it's also still obviously Faith, and it's just, I love it.
It's always an interesting challenge to bring in something to Final Fantasy IV because I have to work within the limitations of the game, which means that I only have a space of about 140 pixels tall, and like my max width is like 250-ish pixels, which I tried not to go that big. There actually is a space limit, and I have hit it several times, where the randomizer will just be like, no, you can't do something quite that big. But it is fun when I get to do like a really big sprite. I've done a couple that kind of fill up the whole screen. But I usually try to stick around to about 140 tall by 200-ish wide. And then, again, because it's original SNES game, I only have 15 colors to work with. That's it.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the color selection. You don't have a lot of choice, right?
I mean, I have like a pretty decent amount of choice. So I did link to a little tweet I did about this where I kind of went over the process. So this went through like 4 sort of basic steps. Where I first did a pencil sketch. That's how a lot of my work starts. I even though I have like a display tablet that I can draw on, I still feel most comfortable sketching in pencil. So usually I'll do like a pencil sketch first. So I looked at a whole bunch of artwork. I was really inspired by like tiger tattoos. And other sort of like lion and tiger like bosses. Like you can definitely see there's a little bit of spiky tiger influence from Secret of Mana.
Okay, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, so I started with the sprite, and then I actually I have one of my art friends, Deji. They were very kind and also gave me like some extra food. Also, hi, Kitty.
Kitty cat.
Kitty
Cat
is
alert.
exploring. Cat alert.
Yay.
Cat can... Okay, well, she's just gonna sit and watch me craft, apparently.
The kitty
Another
does.
special guest to join us.
Yes, but yeah, and then so they helped me sort of like punch up some of the posing on it to make her a little bit more fearsome, and then my main sort of artwork styles, I do vector art. I got to back during the Lady Arcader's Super Showcase show off like how I do like a vector emote, and I made the little lurk emote that we got now of Dusa. So yeah, so I went through vector art where I could sort of work out how I wanted all my colors to kind of be blocked out. And then it got exported into Photoshop, and then basically from there, I went in and I hand adjusted like basically like everything until I was satisfied with it. And that was sort of the process where I was then like condensing down colors. So it's like, okay, we're going to have like 4 different shades. We're going to have like these different shades of yellow. We're going to have the purple, and then the touches of the pink and blue were like the 2 sort of like extras that I managed to get in there. But still, managed to get that all in 15 is pretty much a challenge.
Kitty.
Oh no.
Kitty,
We see yet another part of the crafting process, which is Cat sees you playing with string. Cat comes up.
Oh no,
Cat
Kitty!
string.
Oh, I was gonna
Kitty, say bye. Long Kitty.
Bye, Kitty. I was gonna say, is this the RNG part of the run?
Yeah, yep, this is the RNG part of the run, where the cat attacks the string, and then the dog hears that the cat's in trouble, so he comes in to police things.
Oh, Kitty, please. So, Aalizah, have you often done like I definitely sort of would do, when I was like kind of doing this sort of stuff, I would call it sprite stitching, where you kind of take a sprite and work it into cross stitch. Have you done like a lot of that? Or do you like more traditional cross stitch?
I've mostly done kind of more traditional cross stitch where like I just go to the store and buy a pattern or something like that. But I started with it might have been Frost last year, either Frost last year or Flame the year before that. I decided that I really wanted to do some sort of a cross stitch as a prize. So I picked a game and picked a sprite and went from there. So it's kind of become a thing for me. For every Fatales event, I try to do at least one cross stitch.
Oh, that's nice. I was going to say, for folks who are out there who might want to try this yourself, like, there are really good resources. There's the Spriters resource, which is basically like one of the best collections of sprite rips out on the internet, which is a good place to kind of get started, help you find like really nice, clean sprites to work with. And then to convert this pattern, I use the website Flosscross, which is flosscross.com, which is a free website that translates pixels into cross-stitch patterns. But there's a bunch of other pattern making like sites and programs out there.
And there's also a ton of creators for cross-stitch patterns.
Yeah.
So, like, if you just search for a character on Etsy, there's a good chance you'll find somebody who's made a cross-stitch pattern for you, which is also really cool.
I'm definitely all right. I will slightly change the name of this shop, but hopefully everyone will be able to figure out what it is. S-Post cross stitch. You could probably figure out what the S is supposed to be. They are a really wonderful geeky cross stitch shop. There we go. They do patterns inspired by silly posts on the internet, and they keep
sounds amazing.
They keep doing stuff that makes me want to get back into cross stitch, and it's like I don't have time, but at the same time they had remember when they had what was it, the whole like sea shanty craze was going around, where they made like a cross stitch pattern that says, you know, soon may the Wellerman come, your head gets smart but your brain gets dumb. And I want to make that so bad.
Oh, that's so good. I love that.
I live in a small New England coastal town, so it would be very apropos.
That's awesome.
So if you do cross stitch a bunch, do you know like approximately how long a pattern is going to take you when you find one, or there's just so many factors maybe? It's hard to tell.
Yeah, for me it's definitely kind of hard to tell, especially because I'm very time blind. So, like, I have trouble tracking how long I've spent doing something.
Oh, I'm the worst at that.
That is completely fair.
So, and then I also, I have a lot of times at work where I'm, like, waiting for something to happen. So I'll, like, spend, like, 5 or 10 minutes while I'm waiting for something else and just be cross-stitching. So there's kind of that, too, where sometimes it's just 5 or 10 minutes, and that's not as, like... It's not as obvious how much time you've spent when you do it in the smaller increments like that.
Yeah.
So...
I get that. I've done, I do some chainmail, like, jewelry and stuff. And
Really?
I have started doing the same kind of thing. Like, I have, like, workup, and when there's just kind of a wait, I will grab some chainmail and start making things, so... If you have a job that lets you do it, I 100% recommend do crafts at the same time.
It's very nice because my job is very screen heavy. Like I work on stuff in VR, and VR is hard on everybody, honestly.
Oh, absolutely.
But so like it's nice to just take that screen break and just like look away and look at my crafts for a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I always like having that also, like, the physical hands-on thing you can do, and there's, like, a product at the end as well.
Yeah.
That's what I've done for a lot of events, I kind of shifted from cross stitch to papercraft.
Ooh.
Yeah, a lot of my big projects have been papercraft, and it was this sort of way of taking like digital art and then making it something physical. So because I'm do vector art, that's something that you can actually translate over into papercraft with a little bit of ingenuity. I'm a big fan of the silhouette line of craft machines. So that's how I would do all of that. I'm hoping to kind of have the chance to do some papercraft again, because I haven't been able to do it in a little while, and I've kind of missed it.
That was definitely me when I first, like, decided that I was going to do a cross-stitch for Fatales. I was like, I haven't cross-stitched in years, but, like, it's something I always love every time I pull it out. So...
And a lot of times it's just like, just get out there, just do the thing.
Yep.
So, what would you need to get started in cross stitching?
I mean, the easiest way is obviously just going to be to buy a kit, but, like, if you don't do that, you need some thread, a pattern, and then this, cloth. It's called Ada cloth normally, and it comes in a few different sizes, and the sizes are basically the count of holes per inch. So, like, this, that I'm using is 14 count, which is, so there's 14 stitching holes per inch. So the larger the number, the smaller the cross stitch is going to end up looking. So yeah, you kind of just need a needle, some thread, a cloth, and your imagination or a pattern, and you can go from there.
Yeah, cross stitch is actually very accessible as far as crafts go, because normally, I know slowly the floss prices have gone up, but floss is still like a very like affordable craft material to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it has definitely been years, but also like the starter kits are also very affordable. You can get them like at basically any craft store.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you've ever had like an interest, and you're like, I just want to look into it, it's pretty easy to find like just the very basics for starting.
And when you have like sites like like Etsy and everything, like you can just look up like video game cross stitch kit,
Yes.
and
Yep.
you'll be able to find something that you like. But I actually really do recommend starting with sprites, just because video game sprites are actually they only require you to know your basic cross. You don't have to learn like back stitching or anything else, and it allows you to kind of get started with it. And then once you kind of understand like I said, your sort of basic cross, then you can kind of work your way up to other techniques. But even then, like just knowing, okay, like doing like like you're stitching your row and then kind of going back, or stitching your single crosses. Once you kind of get that, like that's basically what you need to do. The one big thing is just make sure that everything goes the same orientation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it will look wonky if you don't.
There we go. Yeah, so there's also kind of two like schools of thought with cross stitching. There's people like me who don't like the hoops, because it makes it so that I can kind of more easily like do how I'm doing, where I like poke through 2 holes at a time. That way I'm going all the way under and then like back to the top. That tends to twist the thread a lot though, so you kind of have to deal with a lot more knots. But you can also get different hoops, like some of them where it's like a scroll where, you can just like pull the cloth up as you move down the pattern, or some of them are like circular hoops where the whole pattern fits inside of it. So There's kind of a lot, like... There's a lot of crazy advanced stuff that you can get into, but you don't have to.
And those are just embroidery hoops, and they come in different types, like plastic and wood. I know some people use them for quilting, if they're hand quilting.
I like the square ones are also kind of fun.
Yeah. I know a lot of people who they don't like using the plastic ones, but they like hanging the finished art in the plastic ones because they like the color.
Yeah.
That's fair. I know that.
How do you...
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how do you finish the edges of the Ada?
So it kind of depends on what I'm doing. If I'm gonna finish it in a hoop, then I'll just kind of like go through with a single thread and just kind of like skip back and forth and tie it together as tight as I can. I actually tend to buy artists' canvas frames, and then I just staple the edge onto the back of the canvas frame, and then just kind of let it be because it's stapled and should stay secure.
We were talking earlier about like kind of projects. I liked doing when I was doing cross stitch. I liked doing something that would like end up as like a finished thing. So I ended up doing a lot of coasters because I liked coasters. They were nice and small, and you could fit like one like nice sprite in there. You could sort of showcase it, and then you just sort of feel it all up, and it's like cool. I don't have to like worry too much about the backing of it because it's all covered. It's
Yeah.
Are you, Aalizah, are you like do you like to have your backs be super clean, or do you not care?
I tend to not care. Like, I mean, so I try to keep them clean because it helps save on the floss, but like outside of that, it's gonna look like what it looks like.
Yeah, I'm the same. I was never one to really care too much about keeping the back of the work clean. I was just like, it's gonna be what it's
like,
going to be.
It's the back of the work, like.
Yeah. Oh, there's some people who will like, they show off like how neat the back is.
Yeah, there are. Those always make me giggle. There's a cross stitcher I follow, Sarithri, and they design their own patterns, and their cross stitch backs are always funny because sometimes they're really clean, and other times they're like, I just didn't care today. So you get to see the awfulness of me not caring. Because they always make sure to post the back when they do a new design, so...
Well, I like artists being, honest. Like, you know what? Sometimes I put in more effort and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
That was the problem I had with the, even some of the basic cross-stitch patterns, was I had zero idea how to, manage my thread, the floss. So,
Yeah.
Not only were the backs a mess, but also, I would run out of, floss because I didn't, and the starter books don't tell you, how to handle it if you have, a bigger gap. So I just I did my best.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I always like seeing, both versions, both the neat backs and the little bit messier, but still workable backs as well.
Yeah, so far this one is pretty neat, but also I've only done the one color, so...
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks really nice, honestly.
We'll get there. When the purple comes in, it'll start looking crazy,
I'm
but...
excited to see the purple on this. It's also one of those things where when you're translating from pixel to floss, you have to kind of hope that the program that you're using does a pretty good job with the color matching. And that was something that I would run into a whole bunch when I was doing it. I was very particular about my floss colors.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've definitely, on a couple of my designs, had to go back in and change the floss colors, because I disagreed with the program.
You're wrong, and I'm going to make sure that you know that you are wrong, program. That
Yup.
is not the correct shade of blue.
I feel like I'm not quite as picky, but that's because, at least with chainmail, my color choice isn't, like, as wide.
Oh, yeah, you kind of can't be picky there.
Yeah.
I do have a decent amount, but it's nowhere near, like, the subtle variations that you could get with thread.
I had some fun pieces I did where I did regular, like, original Nintendo era sprites and like Game Boy sprites, and then I would do the color in variegated floss. Those are actually really fun. Like, I did that. Like, I had a really cute little black mage I did that way, and I really liked how that looked, because that thing where it's just such a solid color for the original black mage sprite, where it's just black, yellow, and blue. And doing it in variegated floss was really fun. For people who don't know what that means, is that's like floss that has multiple colors running through it, which is a really, really interesting variation to kind of work with. There's a lot of really interesting specialty flosses out there, but for this we're just using just your standard DMC, which is sort of like the standard cross-stitch floss.
Hey, speaking of specialty floss, can I get your opinion on metallic floss?
Oh, metallic. It's so
metallic.
pretty, but it's the worst.
It's so difficult to work with. Like, it breaks so much easier than you expect floss to break. But it's so pretty when you do it right.
Yeah. I had some fun with, what did I do once? I did a pattern once with glow-in-the-dark thread. That was pretty fun. But, like, you had to run all of that through thread conditioner before it would, like, actually, like, sew properly, like, stitch properly. But it was really cool when it actually worked.
I was like, that sounds cool. I haven't messed around with glow-in-the-darks yet. Maybe I do that next for Flame.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know about metallic thread, but for origami, if you've ever done, so basic origami with paper, and then they have the metal sheets for origami, and you have to be so precise or it's a mess.
Well, there's something about the metallic paper specifically with origami that just, like, it's flat. Like, if you fold a paper crane with, like, rice paper or washi paper, it has, like, curves to it. It has, like, a body. Metallic paper just, like, is flat. It doesn't, like, it's very hard to work with.
Yeah.
It's a very different experience, so.
But the shiny.
But the shiny.
But the shiny.
Shiny paper is so pretty.
I like something that I would work with a whole bunch with paper craft. I like pearlized cardstock. There we go. I got there. That was really a lot of fun to work with. Though it's much thicker than normal cardstock, so running it through like a cutter is always just like, all right, I'm going to hope that this works, kind of thing. But I've worked with that. I worked with foil cardstock, which is also really fun and shiny. And so much vellum. I would work a lot with vellum, which is a translucent paper. It's usually, you see it a lot in like wedding invitations. But I would make like faux stained glass designs with them. Oh, it's really cool, but it's just like, it's so finicky to work with, but it was worth it when it like looked cool.
Yeah, I can understand.
Just gonna shrimp check, because
Shrimp.
I'm shrimping over here.
Thank you for the check.
Yeah, instead of a posture check, I always say a shrimp check, because there's that meme that always goes around where why does my back hurt? And then it's a shrimp at a table, so.
Yeah, I know the previous actor was mentioning the, with the, I can't think of the word right now, but equivalent to the crystal placement and being hunched over. And I had mentioned that I've done like diamond painting, and like I 100% like hunch completely over, and you're in weird positions and moving your hands and arms only a little bit, but the same position, over and over again, and you end up in so much pain. So yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'm not used to kind of hunching over. A lot of times when I cross stitch, I'll cross stitch with the cloth up like this. So, but that doesn't work as well for streaming purposes. So, I got to remind myself not to shrimp too much.
Yeah, take care of yourself. I'm also a fan of the crafting like compression gloves. So I also use them when I'm speedrunning.
Yes. I
Ooh.
originally got the compression gloves for playing video games because my hands definitely cannot handle even a lot of times casual video games. But I have definitely used them for chainmail sometimes, and oh my gosh, that is nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit y'all up for those because that sounds amazing.
You can get like if you're happy with just like crafting ones, lion yarn makes really good knitter compression gloves that work just fine for like gaming and everything.
Nice.
Okay.
But
Sweet.
you could definitely find, if you go looking around, there's definitely people who make like all sorts of different ones. I recommend, I have the ones that here I can actually have the Velcro ASMR. The Velcro ones that have like the extra Velcro support for around your wrist.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely have to look into some of that because
usually...
that's something I've been noticing as I get older is cross-stitching has become more painful.
Yeah.
You gotta protect yourself.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, why did you decide to do Faithomus for Frost Fatales? Was it like you wanted to do a prize for Frost Fatales and you're just kind of you saw Scala's pattern, or like how did you go about deciding this is the one?
So I've been wanting to do a Faith cross stitch since the first cross stitch I did, and just hadn't had the energy to make a pattern for it. And Scala offered up their pattern, and I was like, yes, I loved that sprite last year. Like, let's do a cross stitch of it. So
Yeah, people were asking for patterns, and I'm like, well, I have like this very clean pattern that would work for both. I also did a perler version too. I exported one of those too for people who like perlers. Though I think it ended up being like ridiculous. I think it ended up being like the size of like a table.
Oh boy.
I'm sure we could condense that down.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that, again, it is the sort of thing where you talk about like sprite sizes and everything. 140 pixels, on a modern display isn't very big anymore. But when you're translating that to like cross stitch and perlers into like real world things, then you actually sort of start seeing the actual size of it. And like I said, even for like a Sinest sprite, like this is like pretty big.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was definitely kind of funny, but I'm like, well, I'm going to put it out there anyway. I'm going to let whoever wants to make their own decision about it.
I know I saw a few people in chat saying they're interested in perlers. There you go. No. Probably don't start with that one.
Don't start here.
Don't start. Yeah.
Start.
Yeah.
Start
Bigger
with
is better, right?
I mean, I've done perlers too. I definitely recommend if you want to do like sprite perlers, start on like the original Game Boy, start on like the original Nintendo, and slowly work your way up.
Yes. Well,
Yeah, I haven't done perlers since I was a kid, so every time I see them for like GDQ or Fatales or just ever, I'm like, man, that looks so cool. I could do. No, I will lose so many beads.
The thing with perlers for me is actually it's the ironing that's the hard part.
Okay.
You have to be very particular with the iron.
Yeah, so that you can
because you don't want to overmelt too much.
Yup.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's, and you have to use all beads from like I have like my nieces like pearlers, so I have like some kits at home, but it's one of those things where we bought them beads from like different companies, and no, don't mix beads from different companies.
Oh,
They have completely
no.
different like melting temperatures, and it just becomes a mess.
Interesting. I mean, that makes sense, but like, I never thought about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought about it, but as soon as you said it, I was like, oh no, I can see the
Yup.
problem.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna apologize if this ends up not as on camera because I'm starting off on a weird side tangent over here, so I'm gonna have some fun with the thread so that everything stays tied down. Oh, don't knot on me. That's rude.
So rude. Thread wide.
How many strands of floss are you using?
I'm using 2. 2 is what I tend to use for most designs. Every once in a while, I'll go 1 or 3 for like specific purposes, but I tend to do 2 for the majority of the design.
Yeah, the only time I would do 3 is when I was working on Black Ida, because it's so hard to see everything clearly unless you're using like 3 threads.
Yeah. My sister did a, I think it was a Hades cross stitch last year for Flame. And she did a bunch of black stitches on Black Ada,
wow.
and I was just like, what are you doing to yourself?
That's super hard mode.
Yeah. Would not recommend.
Oh, I did want to mention, because we had briefly were talking about, starting with simpler designs. And that's very true, honestly, for really, I feel like most crafts. If you can do the sort of pixel art, like cross stitch or perlers, that kind of thing, starting with the simpler one. So like my first chainmail tapestry, I just did a Pokeball. And, I enlarged it slightly, but it was still so big for, such a small sprite. That was,
Yeah.
I think like 8 pixels by 8 pixels kind of thing. But then it was a good way to, get practice and get something that's fairly simple. And then I moved on to something, a little bit harder. And I'll be honest, I haven't finished it, so I need to finish that one before moving on to something even harder.
Yep. Yep. I don't know if my sister's listening in right now, but one day I will finish the cross stitch she gave me for Christmas. Like, she gave me this this rose pattern because roses are my favorite flower, and I want to say she gave that to me for Christmas in 2010.
Oh boy.
And I'm like 3/4 of the way done.
Yeah, sometimes you have like projects like that kind of just live in your stash forever.
Yeah. It's on 18 count, and like I know I messed up part of it, so that like there's a lot working against me, but one of these days, I'm saying it here, it's on video, one of these days. Oh, she's here. Don't. Hi, Patty. One of these days, I will finish the rose. Maybe I take that with me the next time I go on vacation.
There you go.
Just to have proof that you're working on it?
Yeah, just have proof that I'm working on it. Like,
I went on a vacation once where we went up like we stayed in like a mountain cabin. It was kind of cool, all things considered, but the sort of like the downside was that there was absolutely no like internet or TV.
Oh, no.
Well, it kind of worked out. My aunt brought a bunch to date this. She brought a bunch of DVDs, so we basically watched like my aunt's DVDs for a lot of it. So that's how I got into Project Runway. but I brought like cross stitch with me, so I did a whole bunch of like little cross stitch designs. Just my favorite one was I did the angry Mario 3 sun, and then like around it just said like with the rage of 1,000 suns.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, I feel like that kind of vacation with, where you're forced to not have internet or TV is perfect for crafters, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, go do crafty things, go do creative stuff.
It was fun. We got to go like I got to go ride a horse, and I got to go like do some river rafting. So it was kind of cool, actually.
Yes. Alright, so I can't tell from the pattern, what part of Faithomus are you working on right now?
So I am... I'm kind of like right
the
here.
elbow. Okay.
Yeah, right at the elbow.
Perfect. I'm glad you have like 12 different pictures.
Yeah, when I first printed it out, I wasn't sure if I was going to print out that first page that has the whole picture, because I don't have a color printer. And that page is in color on all of it's in color on the version I was given, but I don't have a color printer. So I was like, do I print this out? But now I'm really glad that I did, because it has been useful. So
That's good. This is my first time using Floss Cross, so I'm glad that it proved useful. I went through like a couple different ones before I found one that I felt gave me the look and the feel of the pattern that I wanted. Because when I was doing patterns for myself, I really didn't care like what it looked like, because I was like, it's just for me. But if I'm going to be giving it to other people, then I actually start really caring about, okay, how does it look? How does it read? Okay,
Yeah.
But do I consider this to be like a passable pattern?
yeah, I definitely think it turned out really great. So.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm always glad whenever someone likes something that I do enough to, this definitely, like, I was very, very flattered when I saw that you wanted to do this, because it's like, oh, this is like a thing that I sort of did, and I'm glad that people liked it. People liked the first GDQ special sprite I did, which was that was the animals from Metroid. Super Metroid. We had the Revenge of the Animals was my first sort of GDQ custom sprite, which I worked very, very, very hard on that one. I'm glad that people really enjoyed it. So that was probably one of my best memories doing speedrunning, was I got to be in the room for that at GDQ 2019, which is my first time going to a GDQ.
Oh, nice.
I was helping out as one of the trackers for that race, and then we got to like reveal the sprite, and everyone, kind of like having like that energy in the room was like really, really, really cool. So I hope to be able to get a chance to go back to in-person events. So I went to both ADGQ 2019 and then RPG Limit Break 2019, and I had a lot of fun at both. And I really would love to go back to RPG Limit Break. RPG speedrunning is kind of where I consider myself to be at home, and it was just such a nice, like, cozy event. And I had a lot of fun. I would love to have a chance to go back someday.
Speaking of GDQ, Flame Fatales or Frost Fatales is coming up, and I wanted to hear everybody's runs that they are most looking forward to. So if everybody could just tell me what runs you are looking forward to real quick.
There's so many.
There are.
There's so many. It's the schedule is stacked. Like, I don't know how they got it so stacked, but they did. Cult of the Lamb is definitely one that I'm super stoked for. I will always call out Cult of the Lamb when I see it.
I was saying to definitely, if you've never seen Eon run Tetris the Grand Master, she is absolutely amazing at that game. That's totally one that's good to watch. Obviously, I'm excited for Free Enterprise, because I always like the fact that when we get to show off our little ROM hack elsewhere, and I'll give a shout out to Ratska, who's also in the FF4 FE community, who she's going to be doing Resogun, which is like a really fun shooter like run that she's done a bunch of times.
I love Resogun so much. That was one of the like few games that I had when I first got my PS4, because it was one of the first PlayStation Plus free games, and that game is so good. If you like shoot 'em ups, play Resogun.
I mean, I'll shout out the Blue Marlin is, I have to remember, is being run by Karma, and I'm actually going to be their buddy, so helping commentate. They specifically asked me not to watch the game first, so I really don't know, except that it's a game, and I think it'll be fun. So, definitely watch that one.
I've definitely...
Honestly...
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I love when, like, runners ask their commentators not to watch the run beforehand. Like, it just causes so much shenanigans.
I had a lot of fun. I do that a lot if I'm running Loom. I like doing that one because we skip over so much of the story that I'm like, you just have to just trust me that this is what's happening in this game. I promise you. And it was really fun when we did the showcase here at Lady Arcaders for Haven with Happy Bear. To have her go into that game, like, basically blind and be like, all right, cool, I'm going to actually be able to, like, run this game but show you the cutscenes, and now everyone will understand why I tell everyone, please play Haven.
Yeah, that's how one of my main speedruns is, Brave Fencer Musashi. Like, so you get all of the end story because there's nothing you can skip at the end of the game, but close to the beginning of the game, you just skip so much stuff that people are like, wait, what just happened? Like...
Don't even worry about it. It's fine. It's cool.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. Like, it's fine.
I feel like that happens a bit with Songbird Symphony, which is a super adorable, great game, but like the speed run, you skip so much of the story that you're just like, wait, what is happening? I don't understand. But if you actually play it casually, it's such like a heart jerker. Like, it is such a good story. It's one of those games.
Thank you for reminding me that game exists, because I played the demo on Switch like 2 years ago and then never bought it, and now I just need to remember to go buy it, because
it is an amazing game. I've been working on routing. I'm very bad at doing it like regularly, but I'm trying to help.
Yeah.
See, I am like not good at routing at all.
I get stressed by actually speedrunning a lot of the times. So something like, spending 30 minutes doing the same thing like 12 different ways and seeing which one's faster actually is less stressful for me.
That makes sense.
But that's one of the things I like about speedrun communities is there's really something for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The one thing I get like praise for is I write really good notes. So
Nice.
that's like my like big contributions. Like, okay, if you want someone to come in and write like good notes, because I need them to be able to do anything. So it's like, if notes don't exist, I have like gone through and done up all the notes to make sure, that I understand it. And so I try to write it in a way that's understandable to other people. So I definitely remember when I picked up Haven, I was, sat down and I basically studied like the world record run, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make notes about like what I have to do for like every single step of the game. And then I sort of joined the Discord, and I'm like, here, I wrote notes. Everyone's just like, why are your notes so good? And I'm like, because they need to be, or I will mess up. But that happened. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, that reminds me, I got to call out my sister, because she's supposed to be running Chicory based off of my notes to see how awful they are, and hasn't yet. So Because I feel like they're awful, but
Well, yeah. Sometimes you can't tell though until someone else has to do it. But I
Yeah.
try to update mine as I can. I need to. I was debating if I got back into any of my old runs. I might get back into Vanguard Bandits, which is another game where I had to just sit down and write the notes for because no one else had. Which
Wait,
that
what
game.
is-
Oh. Mm-hmm.
what is that game? I have never heard of this.
Oh boy! Here we go. Okay, Vanguard Bandits is a game from like the late 90s. It was brought over by
Okay.
Working Designs, so you already kind of have like a little idea of like the idea of it. It's basically, it was sort of in that time where you had like fantasy mecha was like a thing in anime. So it's a fantasy mecha tactical RPG.
Okay, this sounds right up my alley, though.
The one thing I will say though, this is my big like caveat about Vanguard Bandits is that it was translated, like I said, at like in 2000, and some of those jokes don't hold up anymore.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah. Which is, it's fine for the speedrun because I like just
Yeah.
glaze over all the dialogue, and the character who had the worst dialogue, we don't recruit him. So it's like, great, we don't have to deal with Andrew and his weird misogynistic flirty stuff. Fantastic. Great. But the speedrun is actually pretty fun because you end up, there's like 3 different plot lines you can play in Vanguard Bandits, and the shortest one, the way you win is you have to win the love of a mecha pilot ninja assassin maid. Like, that's a real thing that happens. Because she has the easiest boss fight.
Oh, that's so good. That just sounds like somebody just like took a random word generator and tried to make a passphrase.
Yeah. I mean, it all works out because Cecilia, the character stuff, I actually really like Cecilia because I was like, all right, cool. So I end up with Cecilia, and we defeat the final boss with the power of like anime and respecting women, and yeah, it all works out. But it's a long run. It's like 2.5 hours was my time on it. With the world record being 2 hours, but the 2-hour world record is way, way riskier than... I learned the marathon safe run. But it's
That's where I'm at with Musashi. Like, I'm at like 2:30 and the world record is under 2 hours, and I'm just like, I can't. It's such a long run.
Exactly. It's not just the long run, like I said, but like the fact that the world record route is so much riskier.
Yeah.
Because you're like, all right, we're just going to risk it on like this one move that like has like a high chance of failure, and like if the run goes off the rails, like that's it. But it's definitely interesting if you like unique leveling systems. Since in Vanguard Bandits you get to pick where all the stat growth goes. So basically, you have like that was actually like part of the reason why it's like interesting to kind of like, I was glad I didn't have to route it myself, because I had to spend like a lot of time just like, okay, I now have to visualize the actual level up charts for every character that I'm using, because you had to very precisely allot all their stats. So there you go. There's my little ramble about Vanguard Bandits.
I love it. I'm just gonna ramble about Musashi because y'all let me bring it up. The music in that game is top tier.
It is.
Like, most people don't even know the game exists, and if they do know it exists, it's because it came with the demo for Final Fantasy VIII. So, like, the people who've actually played it are always just like, oh my god, wait, somebody else who played it?
That's how I am right now. I play Musashi, so I get what you're putting down.
But yet the music is just it's so good. And there's like, so one of the mechanics is you saving like the townspeople, and some of the townspeople are musicians. So like saving those particular musicians like changes the music inside of the castle when you're there, and it's just such like good design.
Oh,
I love when those like decisions are made, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean,
Scala.
oh no. Like that's something that comes up in another sort of like one of those sort of like more off base Square games, because that also happens in Live Alive, which I'm so glad has gotten like a second life on the Switch, and now people are actually realizing how good Live Alive is. But there's a section in the game they have. If you've never seen Live Alive, it's a bunch of it's like kind of like an anthology game, where each of the chapters is like a different like time and place. And so there's one that's set during the cowboy era, and you go in, and there's like a saloon, and there's a group of mariachi in the saloon, and you can assign them to go like do tasks, and if you do, like the music will change when they're out of the room.
Oh, that's so good.
And my favorite part though is in the Switch release, because it's like fully voice acted. They actually had the mariachi. They actually all speak in Spanish. I was like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then they subtitle it for you in English, and I'm like, oh, that's such a good like little thing. What?
Yeah.
What is the cowboy era? Roadkill asks. That's Live Alive. It has like a bunch of different chapters. Each chapter is based off like they literally went on to everyone who was involved in the team are like, all right, cool. You get to like, what kind of like stories do we want to tell? And someone, they're like, what about stories about ninjas, or about like literally there's just a whole like giant robot anime chapter. There's a sci-fi like late sci-fi chapter. You play as the world's cutest robot. It's great. So that's why I'm very glad that it's kind of gotten its second life on the Switch. I definitely feel that the Switch version did a lot, like not only just like updating that game and adding in modern touches, but also it made the game like what's the best? I'm trying to think of like how do I say it without like completely like spoiling it. Gave the game the ending it always deserved. There we go. Which that's a hard thing to say when you actually have like a remake and you're like, okay, no, this remake is like leagues better than the original game. And it's great because Live Alive has always been this very interesting game. I played the fan translation of it, and it does a lot of interesting things that you would not expect a 90s RPG to do. And the fact that, like, it's like, okay, it's like now, like, we're kind of, like, moving into, like, respecting kind of what, like, a game like that has always been doing. And you have, like, these sort of retro-style games that sort of bring in a lot of, that put a lot of, like, heart and soul into it. And, to see that, like, it really has always been there is always, like, nice.
Yeah.
One day Musashi will get that love again.
I hope so.
I blame the sequel. The sequel is so different from the first game that, like, I feel like everybody just didn't play the sequel, and then Square's just like, well, nobody bought the sequel, so clearly nobody loves it.
Well, they've been, like I said, like, no one expected them to do a remake of Live Alive, so maybe we'll get some of the other, like, weird SNES games. I played a smidge of it. I would like to play more, but there's, like, Treasure of the Rudas, which I'm like, that game looks, like, really weird and interesting, so maybe that one will eventually get some love. Probably not, though, but there is a really good fan. Like, just bless all the people who do fan translations. They're, like, the actual heroes.
Yes.
Do that wrong? No. Okay, cool.
Yay.
We're good. I already know one spot that I messed up, and I'm like, well, nobody else knows where I messed it up, so...
Fine. We won't tell.
Exactly. Me, every time I do a cross-stitch. I was like, so I actually don't normally do it this way, so I did, like, the gridding this time for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I actually normally do where you, like, fold the cloth into quarters, and then just, like, start in the bottom right corner.
Mm-hmm.
and go from there. And then the top left corner is always awful, so I hate that. So it's like, well, maybe this time I'll just grid, and maybe that will mean I make no mistakes. No, we still make mistakes.
It's fine.
It's crafting. Mistakes
It's
just
crafting.
prove it's handmade.
Yes.
Truth. Oh, this is such a good remix.
I
Yeah.
know.
Oh. Do we have a name for this somewhere?
It is Final Fantasy 11, according to the overlay.
Interesting. Okay.
I was about to say, like, if you like the music in Brave Fencer Musashi, I know it's appeared on a couple of like the different Square Enix remix collections, which I'm a big nerd, and I like. Oh, sorry, it's Final Fantasy 9. I'm sorry. I'm still. Look, we went over this.
It's good. It's good. We can't read. That's why we're speedrunners.
Reading is a thema to speedrunners. No, we don't want to read. Why are we wasting our time reading when we could be doing things? But anyway, yeah, I collect a lot of the Square Enix remix albums, which they have like hundreds of them. And I'm pretty sure there's some Brave Fencer Musashi in some of my collections somewhere. Now I'm going to actually go take a look.
I didn't realize that they've done like a bunch of stuff like that. So I'm gonna have to. I'm about to go down a rabbit hole.
Oh, you are going to go down such a rabbit hole.
Oh man, that's.
Yes, I do have several songs from Brave Fencer Musashi in my collection. So, but yeah,
that's okay.
If you basically, how do I not know the numbers? Look, Bacall, I'm very tired, and I have not been able to have solid food for like several days. I'm operating purely on soup and smoothies. Yeah, so basically, what it is there were all sorts of different CDs with like different themes and everything. So looking at this, looks like the Brave Fencer Musashi stuff was on the Chiptune album. So
Okay.
yeah, but there's ones for like chiptunes. There's ones that are just sort of generalized ones. The one I recommend if you want to get in and you just want like one really good album to get yourself started with, there's one called Mina de Bravo.
Okay.
That's like the best one because it's basically a like a highlight collection of from a bunch of other albums. So Mina de Bravo is definitely like the one I kind of recommend if you want like just like a CD that's just like straight like 16 bangers. Just go for that one. Last SQ is also very good because that's another collection album where they sort of took a bunch from like sort of like the best of the different remixes.
Yeah.
But no, it's a very interesting sort of and you can actually Square Enix Music, they actually have a YouTube channel. Now the YouTube channel just so you know is mostly in Japanese, but if you don't mind that, they actually put out like a whole bunch of the albums where you can just listen to them on YouTube now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so and they've been putting together like the sort of like the they started doing a bunch of lo-fi albums.
Oh no, the lo-fi will get. Oh no.
Yeah, they have 4 lo-fi albums that are out, which are let me see because I just got those. Mellow Minstrel Mix and Airship Cruise Beats are the 2 lo-fi albums.
Okay.
That they there's 2 versions of each of those. And they have like the sort of like if you just want to throw on like a YouTube video and just listen, they have those just available on their Square Enix Music YouTube channel. So there you go.
Okay.
I'll shout out my love of Square Enix music.
Oh no. It's a good thing I'm going to the store after this. the last of my yellow thread.
Oh no!
Yeah, when I went to the store to buy thread, I was like, oh, I already have this color of yellow. It'll be fine.
Oh no.
Never mind the fact that this is the yellow that is used the most in this pattern, so like...
You can never have enough of the base color.
Yup, you are correct. And I forgot that. The basic tenet.
Oh, you always need more floss than you think you do.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a silly question, but for like floss for, you know, like cross stitching, is it the kind of thing where you can like very accurately match and get more of the same color? Like when you run out, I know some different crafts, sometimes even with chainmail, I have issues where, you know, the different batches are slightly different shades, and it's like, oh no, I either have to do it all right the first time or like start over.
DMC, which is sort of like the big name brand floss, like they are extremely good at keeping all their colors the exact same.
Okay.
And the way they do that is they have each color has its own ID number, and so long as you're always buying that exact same ID number, you'll get the same color. And they're like, you know, very well known for their color consistency.
Okay, well that's good.
Oh, yeah, I know. So like yarn is like one of those things where you have to like check your dye lots and everything. And if you buy more bespoke floss, usually you kind of want to try and get it all at once.
Yeah.
Because like hand dyed lots, those are not going to ever look like the exact same twice. And depending upon what you're working on, like that might not matter. Like if you're working with something that's using multicolored variegated thread, it's okay to have those color variations in there. But obviously, if you're working with solid color, then it becomes much more of an issue that you kind of have to work your way through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that like how we were talking about like with the rhinestones, you know, how like, you know, sometimes stuff gets discontinued and moved around. Like that's always like the fear. It's like, you know, like crafting one fear, your favorite supply gets eliminated.
Yeah.
Oh,
every once in a while DMC does that. I have some colors that just don't exist anymore, but
I know, and it's the worst when that happens.
yeah, so now I'm just like, well, what do I use it for? Because I can't get more of it, so I can't do like a huge pattern with it.
And then you have to decide, like, you know, do you want to, because like you don't want to obviously start something that has too much, but you also have to be careful that like, well, if you only use a little bit, now you still have more left. And I know, so like I end up sitting on some of these supplies sometimes because I was like, well, I have to get the perfect exact amount, which you can never do.
Yup. That's why crafters are hoarders.
I was gonna say, just make friendship bracelets with what's left over.
There you go.
That's, yeah.
I have, it looks like a cookie tin, you know, the old sewing kits.
Yeah.
That was my great grandmother's, and it is full, like chock full of embroidery floss and some cross stitching supplies that we've just had because we don't know what to do with it because none of us cross stitch, but like it's a family heirloom at this point, so we're just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe somebody will eventually.
There you go. You can take up the mantle.
Yeah, you can take up the mantle. You can learn to cross stitch.
I mean, my my sewing boxes, I actually do have like a very amusingly, because I talked about how like I got into Project Runway on this vacation. Like my cross stitch collection box is actually the Project Runway sewing box. It's very cute. But it's just filled with like just bags and bags of like floss. That's just I don't have like one of those really neat like floss organizers like some of the cool kids have.
I was just complaining at my sister because hers are just like in bags and bags, and I have mine in my nice little organizer, like wrapped up on spools. Like,
all the proper stuff. No,
I've got it in numerical order, so it was really easy to see what colors I didn't have for this chart.
Nice.
Like,
no, I was the worst at that. I just had plastic bags.
Are you telling me plastic bags isn't proper crafting storage?
so
well, it depends.
It depends on if you want to be able to easily find things or if you want to dig all the time. Because some people just like digging, and I'm not, good for them.
Somebody remind me to show my scrap bag of quilting fabric when I get on stream.
No.
Well, and there's definitely a difference when you have like when you're starting out with the craft and you only have some. So like, with my chainmail rings, at first I had each color and size in its own little baggie, and I just had them all stacked in like a little drawer. But when I got more and more of those little baggies, I could no longer find them without having to go digging, like Aalizah was saying. And so at that point, I had to get a nice big organizer so I could separate them and be like, okay, I need this size and this color. Let me go look and see. If it's not there, let me go make them, that kind of thing. But I also have my scrap bags full of a bunch of trash chainmail rings that I need, because the the crafter's dilemma of, but what if I use these scraps for something else in the future?
I'm like that with my paper collection. Which is most of it lives inside 2 giant filing boxes, which, to be fair, are nicely organized by color. So I call them my rainbow boxes.
Okay, I have a new question now.
Okay,
but let me go ahead and give some explanation. So typically when a crafter is talking about stash busting, they are talking about they have a stash of things, which is like, in Scala's case, a stack of paper, or in Trainer's case, maybe a bunch of like chainmail rings. Are there any stash busting projects either anybody would like to do, and what would they look like?
Oh boy.
I mean,
yes.
Mine is kind of, mine is not cross-stitching stash busting, because that sounds like scary to me. But one of the other kind of crafty things that I do is I build and paint plastic miniatures. Mm-hmm. And they come with extra bits so that you can choose like which arm you want and which head you want and stuff like that. So there's actually a big scene of people who take all of those extra bits and do what's called kit bashing, where they just like make their own models out of random extra bits. So one day I think I'm gonna have to do that, because I just have all of them in boxes.
Sounds fun, honestly.
This would be better if I like had more time for crafting. Like I said, I want to try and do another big paper craft project. I haven't done one in a few years. Actually, amusingly, my last one that I did was actually Kingdom Hearts themed. Which was a lot of fun to do. But it's the thing where it's just like, I have like lots of paper and I just need to like sit down, and I will never use up like all my paper is the thing. Because I'm very good about keeping my scraps, because it's like, I never know when I might be able to use this again. So, but I actually have to like arrange my craft room. It's one of those things where I moved, but then I never like rebuilt my craft room from after I moved, so it's still kind of like mainly up in boxes. So I need to like, that's sort of like a goal for maybe like this spring is to finally recreate the craft room properly.
Yeah, I need to clean my my crafting desk. I have like a desk that I normally paint my miniatures and stuff at, and it's just covered in like miniatures and Legos and other crafting stuff, and it's not usable right now, and I should really fix that.
Yeah, I get it. I had to very recently. I've gone through and had to clean up a bunch of my crafting spaces and try to make them more usable. And critique to your question, I would love to do something with my like trash rings for like the chainmail stuff. But part of the problem is I don't know what to do, because with chainmail, an important part of a design is that it stays together. And with these rings, a lot of them are like weird shaped or things like that. So it's like if you had, like our cross stitch, the grid, I can't remember its name.
Ida?
Yes. Like if you had Ida that had like slightly different hole sizes and things. So it's the kind of thing like you can technically use it, but how good of an idea is it to use that?
I don't know, Trainer. It sounds like you have the start of an art installation.
Surprise puppy
Probably.
visit.
Yay, puppy!
Puppy visit!
Puppy knew you needed a second.
Yeah.
Take a break, stretch your hands.
Yeah.
De-shrimpify.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yup. I'm trying, but it's so ingrained in me. It's actually something that so I'm about to get like weirdly anatomical, but so the muscles in your shoulders are actually what hold you up. Like the front and the backs of your shoulders. So a lot of us just like let these muscles atrophy, and that's why we tend to hunch so much, is because we've just let those muscles atrophy. And I know this because I went through physical therapy for my shoulders and then stopped doing my exercises and have returned to hunching.
Yeah, I just heard that from my physical therapist for my back. So yes.
Yeah. Shout outs to all the physical therapists who put up with us doing exercises and then stopping.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went through that when I was, I won't get into the whole big story, but I spent some time in the hospital in 2021. And the physical therapist, like, would definitely, like, come in and, like, berate me and be like, are you trying to do your exercises, like, even while you're in, like, the room and everything? And I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, totally, yup.
Yeah, Yep, totally did all this while I am, currently, like, very heavily medicated.
Correct, you can't stop if you don't start, but forever shrimping.
I need like the salt like decal, but it's just a shrimp life instead.
Yeah.
And that's something else I've done. I've done doing like vinyl work, because again, that's another thing that tangents very well with vector art is vinyl. So I've done like vinyl decals. So I still have plenty of vinyl hanging around. I have a lot of t-shirt vinyl because I would do custom t-shirts.
Nice.
Which, well, it's one of those things where like the stuff I would do for myself would always be like absolutely ridiculous. And then like, oh yeah. I mean, I had my favorite thing though to do was to do shirts that were like had like something very simple on the front, and then the back was like the more elaborate part of it. So, like some of like the ones I had that were really good. I really liked the I had a Persona 5 one I did, where it had like the
Ooh.
Phantom, like the normal sort of Phantom Thieves like mask logo on the front is like a pocket design, and then on the back it had the stabbed heart with like "Take Your Heart" on the back in like in metallic vinyl. So it looked very, very, very cool. But it was like so hard to get that to actually all work together, because layering t-shirt vinyl is like that's a big skill.
But that shirt sounds amazing, so...
Oh, thank you.
It does.
I had a lot of fun doing shirts, for sure. So, but yeah, I had like that one, and the other one I really liked. I did one inspired by Final Fantasy Tactics, where I had the front had like all the zodiac stones on it, and then the back had the flag of the Blue Lion family. Because that's like the family that like Ramza is like aligned with. Well, the main reason I did it was because I got to meet Hitoshi Sakimoto, who worked on like the Tactics soundtrack at like one of the Final Fantasy concert events, which is very cool. Like,
awesome.
So he did like a meet and greet kind of thing, and you got to have like a photo and everything. It was actually very cute because I brought like my copy of like Final Fantasy Tactics to him, and I was like, asking. It was kind of fun because like we were sort of like he could like half speak English and I could half speak Japanese. So between the two of us, we kind of understood. And I was just like, can you sign this? And he's like, is it okay for me to sign on Ramza? And I'm like, of course it's okay for you to sign on Ramza. Not like I don't like adore that soundtrack or anything, but so there you go. That's like I did like a 1 year where I went to like a whole bunch of conventions and I like met like tons of like voice actors and video game people. It's actually really fun, but I also would not recommend it for your wallet.
Yeah, no, conventions and my wallet are not friends.
No.
Or they're too good of friends? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. But I spent like 1 year kind of doing that, where I went to like a whole bunch of conventions in like 1 year. Which,
that's awesome.
It worked out for me because at the time I lived in and around Atlanta, which has a big, like, there's Dragon Con and MomoCon and Anime Week in Atlanta, and then I also drove down to some cons down in Florida. So I sort of did like 1 year of that, and then I was just like, nope, that spent way too much money. And took up way too much time. I'm gonna just take a break from all that.
Speaking of time, we have about 10 minutes left in our showcase. So if you have anything you want to like point out or specify, now's a great time to go ahead and get on that.
Not Faithomus or cross-stitch related, but because we've been talking music, one of the Final Fantasy concerts that they do is called A New World.
Yes!
And it is like the conductor and like 8 musicians. And it is so good. And the conductor, I forget his name right now, but he is
Arnie
such
Ross?
a sweetheart. Yes. Yes, he is such a sweetheart. Like, oh, that was one of the best, like,
they also have
concerts I've been to.
They have a piano series coming around, too. So if you like piano concerts, there's also the Final Fantasy piano concert series coming around.
Oh, no.
I've been to A New World twice. Distant Worlds once, and I got to go to Dear Friends like way, way, way back in the day, and I got to go to the Kingdom Hearts concert, and I'm trying to think of any other. Oh, I got to go to probably like the most unique video game concert I got to go to was at PAX East, I think 2018. There was a one night only Final Fantasy 15 concert that they did with the video game orchestra.
Oh,
which
cool.
that was super duper cool, but also like it required me to basically just stand in line for hours on end to get in.
Yep.
Because it was free with being part of X, but you basically just had to be in line with it like the entire time.
Yeah.
So I've been to PAX East twice now. Yes, twice. Which that
rip PAX South.
I'm sorry, PAX South. But I definitely really I'm debating if I want to go back again or not. it's one of those things where it's like I would like to go back, but it is such like a time and investment thing.
Yeah.
To kind of do that, like even, and I'm someone who like I have the luxury of like living in the state, so I can like drive or take like the transit in. But even that is still like it's a big to do for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I did PAX East one year and PAX South almost every year before they stopped, and I miss it. I'm gonna have to go to PAX West at some point too, though.
Well, I had the slight advantage that I got to go as a volunteer, so
That always
nice.
helps. Yeah,
yeah.
I did that the last year that PAX South was a thing. Like, I guess it was that 2020. I think it might have been 2020.
Who did you volunteer with?
Like PAX South. I was the retro gaming library area.
That sounds so
Nice.
cool. I volunteered with the wonderful charity group Take This.
Okay.
Which, I'll give my little shout.
Yep.
Please look up Take This. They do wonderful mental health outreach and education here in the video game space. They got lots of great resources. They're just really, really fantastic people.
Yes. Yes. Take This are wonderful people.
Also, people in chat being like, Lady Arcaders Con. I'd go.
I'd go.
Heck yeah. It sounds like such a good time. We'd have to figure out where, but
Yeah.
it sounds like such a good time.
Yeah. See Crime talking about Frost Fatale's travel. I'm so excited. Like, is this the first trip I'm taking by myself in a long time? Like, normally I travel with either my sister or my wife. So I'm like nervous and excited to just go by myself somewhere. Be at the mercy of the Fatales.
I've heard though it is good times there at the
Yes.
at
That's-
the studio.
That's what I've heard too. So
Apparently there's plenty of free energy drinks.
oh no, that's dangerous.
Even though I am part of the crew that is like, all right, I understand that GDQ has a long-running sponsorship with Red Bull. However, V8, would you like to get in on this?
The V8 energy drinks are super good.
They're
like,
so good.
They're
There you
so
go.
good.
There. If you take away nothing from this, just go try V8 energy drinks. If you want like actual good like energy drinks, I can't not recommend them enough. So
The
Yeah,
one.
I'll just-
Oh, go for it.
I'll just throw out all that crafting knowledge you guys have been
Yeah.
so generously like explaining to me, and go get some V8s.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you could also get crafting. Like, there you go. Go out, go get both crafting stuff, and then get yourself some V8 energy, so you have the energy to do the crafting.
Yeah. This thread is being grumpy.
Oh no, Grumpy Fred, no.
It knows our time is coming up and is upset
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yup. Yeah, I was
But-
kind of worried. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna fill like voice chat for an hour and a half, but having y'all hanging out with me has been great. So I appreciate it.
It's that whole that parallel play thing, you know,
Yes.
where you just get like
Yeah.
multiple people just sitting and chilling.
Yup.
You know, I've been working on some stuff in the background too for maybe some other events that are coming up. Ooh, boy.
Ooh.
Ooh.
But it's secrets. That's the one thing
Secrets.
I'm good at secrets. But I am definitely looking forward to there's just so many good things happening in February right now. Like, not only do we have, I know that this kind of came up in chat, but we're also going to have like multi-thon that has a lot of like Lady Arcaders involved in it, which is next week. So, and then I know at the end of the month is Speedrun Ragnarok, which also has some lots of good people in that too. So there's
Nice.
Yes.
many events.
My month is very full of volunteering.
But that's good though. You want your month, it's
Yes.
it's nice when, there's like lots of different stuff to do.
Yeah.
Yes. As long as you also make sure to take time to, self-care, stretch, hydrate, the standard stuff.
Just take care of yourself. It's like, okay, there you go. So stuff to take away from this.
Let me hydrate.
Yeah.
Time to review.
Yeah, take care of yourself. If you think that a craft might be interesting, just go do it. Just go try the thing. Start small, and then see if you like it. Drink V8 energy, and listen to good music. I think is like
Yep.
Also, if you're buying yarn or thread or even some floss in some occasions, make sure you buy the same dye lot because colors will not match, and that's important.
This is true.
Yeah.
Make sure you have the craft material you need plus just a little bit more.
Yes. and don't worry too much about building up that stash. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Mhm.
Don't worry
Stash
about
busting
it.
Projects are a thing for a reason.
Yes. But the important thing is just I think that's the one thing I really like about having like this whole craft day is just like, yeah, let's sort of celebrate, we're still doing what a lot of Lady Arcaders is about, which is about celebrating, women in games and everything. But I definitely like celebrating this sort of very kind of nice, cozy relationship between games and crafting, which I think is a really interesting way to interface with games and to takes the way I always like to look at it is you're taking something that is digital and you're making it physical. And I think that's like a really interesting and powerful way of interfacing with the games that you love.
Agreed.
Yep, 100%.
With that, we are out of time for our showcase. Thank you so much for showing off this lovely craft stitch and all your progress on it. Is there anything you'd like to say or any shout-outs you'd like to make before we wrap it up?
Mostly shout-outs to Lady Arcaders for letting me show this off. Shout-outs to Fatales for always having some awesome lineups for their games. And thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you for submitting. This is just wonderful. We were a little worried about interest, but it seems to have worked out, and I cannot complain. Trainer, Scala, are there any shout-outs you'd like to make, or any announcements?
Just shout outs again to Lady Arcaders and to the Fatales for all their support. Definitely check out the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise race that's going to be happening on Frame Fatales. I promise that there will be amazing surprises like we always like to do, and maybe a new sprite. We'll have to see.
Ooh.
I agree. Same shoutouts to Lady Arcaders, Fatales, and honestly all the small marathon charity organizations. All of them are awesome. And I am very, very bad at doing things regularly, but if you want to check out, I have a Twitch channel at twitch.tv/traineranade. And I'm trying to get into doing some crafting streams myself. So if this is the kind of thing you like, follow me and I'll try to stream.
Of course.